where Modern Vitality came from is I started private practice in 2009, and I was seeing patients locally. I lived in the Chicago area at that time. I was seeing local patients doing Eastern medicine, right? Acupuncture, herbs, Qigong, breath work, all the kinds of things I could use in my toolbox. And what would happen inevitably was I would have a patient who had a cousin who lived far away, or their uncle or their sister or whatever it is. They had some family member or close friend, and it was usually somebody with a gnarly, complex chronic health condition, right? Like Lyme disease was one of the first ones. They said, "Oh, I've got a great friend with Lyme disease. I wish you could help him, but he doesn't live here." And I thought, well, that's silly, right? First, let's try to find somebody local to him, and I couldn't, right? Because people with a certain level of skill, there's not a lot of them around. So I couldn't find local referrals. And then I thought, okay, what if I just, I can't do acupuncture from, 1,000 miles away or whatever, but what can I do? Instead of just being defeated about it, I thought, well, what can I do? How can we actually help people here? And herbs, right? They go through the mail, no problem. A lot of other things, Qigong, like I said, Qigong, breath work, looking at foods, special self-care practices. There's a ton of stuff. Once I opened my mind to that, then I realized, okay, maybe I don't have to be constrained by geography here. If I can't find a local specialist and I know what to do with a case, then I'm going to try to use technology. I'm going to try to make connections. I'm going to try to help the person if they want help, right? So that was my attitude going into it. And then I started to think, okay, and this is like back in 2009, 2010, and the internet, I don't know if you remember, but the internet was still kind of evolving then, right? It wasn't anywhere near like it is now. And I started thinking, okay, what else can we do here, right? Because if I can help somebody with Lyme disease or fibromyalgia or something like that from 1,000 miles away, there's how many other people are suffering with these conditions that don't have anybody nearby that knows really what to do with them, right? So I started thinking a lot about working online and leveraging the technology. And then I started having other ideas, because what gets really interesting is that, I know it's going to sound a little bit selfish at first, but for me to have some time freedom, to not be just kind of appointment, right? I thought, what about a different kind of practice model where instead of having appointments all the time, I had like open hours and people could ask questions and all that, and they didn't have to wait for their next appointment. And that's what we see now. That's culminated basically into our solutions and support group. And on the other side, one of the things I realized was that patients don't want appointments either, right? You may think you do. That may be an old belief just because that's what you're used to from the system. But when we start really taking this apart, most patients, they've got enough going on. They've got a busy life. They don't need another time commitment, right? Especially if you're low on energy and you already have an appointment that week, right? That might be it. Like, that's max. You were going to get a haircut. That's it. You're done with that. You're done with appointments. You don't want to have to go to doctor's offices and these kinds of things, right? And it's the same thing even if we go to the internet and now we're on a Zoom call or something like that. It's still one more thing on your calendar. So having a group environment, and this is the evolution here, right? Having a group environment gives us that opportunity to have asynchronous communication, meaning when it's a good time for you to ask a question, you can ask it. You don't have to wait for your next appointment. And when it's a good time for me to answer it, I'm going to answer it, right? So we're not beholden to this kind of arbitrary scheduling thing. So I really like that component, and that's one of the ways that I've evolved this. So as I was moving through kind of a lot of these ideas in my head, eventually I found mentors and teachers and different people who were doing Eastern medicine in different ways, and I was able to take some scaffolding around how to use different herb formulas and how to organize stuff and flesh that out. I minimized a lot. I cut a lot out of what I learned too, but I also organized it and fleshed it out so that we could have a functional program that's built on universal principles, stages 1, 2, 3, 4, right? With herb formulas that go there with a little bit of variability, and then also apply that to your unique situation. That's one of the ways I started to evolve this process. And what we did was I took fibromyalgia, right? Horribly frustrating condition for the patients, for MDs, right? They don't know what to do with that. It's just a mess out there. There's nobody handling it right. So I started a case study on fibromyalgia, and I started a test group and a pilot program. And what I did with that was I started to reach out to some of my colleagues who became an expert panel. And I gave them topic ideas, and we made videos all together, and I coordinated this whole thing and created the early version of the program. And the deal was that all these clinics who helped me with that, I made it a group effort instead of doing it all myself. I made it a group effort, and then they all got to use and license the program within their clinics. And then later, when other practitioners came around and wanted to license the program, but they hadn't contributed in the early days, they had to do it. It was just different. It was a different setup. So we created this, and then we used the different geographical locations to have pilot groups and pilot cases. And so we were going after fibromyalgia initially. And one of the things I wanted to test was I wanted to get the proof of concept that we could treat these conditions following universal principles with unique adaptations as needed, and that basically the program would work for fibro, which is, it's a hard condition to treat, right? So I was already given it really tricky test conditions. And then on top of that, we used clinics all over America, all over the US. And what that did was that allowed me to have case studies from different environments, meaning different types of geographical regions with different types of climate. Because as you know, climate plays a big part and weather plays a big part. So the heat, the humidity, the coldness, the dryness, the dampness, the wind of different bioregions in the country will affect the different people. So I wanted to make sure that I wasn't just seeing, my patients in Chicago get better, or my patients, later when I moved to Washington State and a little island above Seattle, right? I didn't want to just only be able to be good at this for Pacific Northwest climate type people, right? So we had people in Chicago.
I decided to try the program. I feel a lot better. I feel the best I've felt in probably 9 years.
It's just so good. All of it. All of it is so good to me. The videos, all of it, it doesn't feel overwhelming because it's bite-sized pieces. It fits the way my mind works. I love it. Thank you.
We had people in Maryland.
I mean, within 2.5, 3 weeks, it's just like my pain was gone. I mean, I could move, I could walk, I could do things that I'd not done, for a while. So I was so excited. I'm still excited. I tell everybody, I feel like a brand new person.
We had people in Florida.
You just feel terrible all the time, and you can't really enjoy anything. And that's completely gone. And it's like a whole new lease in life. I feel so much better, and it's been a while now, and I just can't believe I didn't do this sooner.
We had people in Colorado.
For the first time in years, I feel like I have a baseline. I have some stability and some resilience. I'm not on as much of a roller coaster.
People in New Mexico.
Yeah, and I did really well, and like my pain level is reduced, and my my fatigue is reduced. And after a full day of counseling, I took like a 1 mile walk back to the hotel with no problem, which is unusual. So 2 weeks ago I couldn't go to IKEA. So
People in California.
My daughter has her mother back, and my husband has his wife back, and I don't think I would be where I am without, this program, the Modern Vitality for sure, but, the support you get on top of that is crucial.
Washington State.
I actually saw my physician today, and she said, there are medications for fibromyalgia. And I said, well, good to know, but I really don't need them right now. But she said, just keep doing what you're doing, because all of my lab tests and everything were very good. So she's happy and I'm happy. So thank you, Jeremy. I appreciate it.
I hope I'm not forgetting anybody, right? There was a lot of them. So we were getting people better in all these different types of regions. And the testimonials or the case studies and these kind of positive stories kept coming in. And I thought, this is fantastic, right? Because we've got proof of concept all over the place. So the next step was to take that out of just fibromyalgia and expand to more complex chronic conditions, which is where Modern Vitality was really kind of coined and invented, because I was getting requests from clinicians all over the country like, hey, I know that this protocol is going to work well for my Lyme patients, but it's called fibromyalgia protocol. So it's kind of weird. Like, I don't want to give them that. Great, let's do it. Let's open it up, right? And then for me also, I was really excited because now we could start working with the mold cases and the chronic fatigue and all the weird, gnarly stuff. Right, so that's been the evolution here. And over time, I've really refined, as you've seen, we've got a vault full of videos, which I'm constantly refining all of our approaches. And now I've built the YouTube channel, which is every single day there's a new video coming. We're starting to get some traction there. People are noticing, right? We're getting people knocking on our doors in the group every month. Now there's a new batch of people they've submitted their applications and they're ready to come in and learn about what we do. And some of them make the climb. Some of them who aren't ready, they go on to whatever it is they're going to be doing. But some of them they're very promising and they deserve to get better. And they found the right place and they feel it.